The reopening measures are slowly taking place amid the coronavirus pandemic. Malls and restaurants are working again, and factories move more and more of their personnel back into the offices. However, that doesn't mean that people won't get sick anymore. On the contrary, there are now many more chances of spreading the virus even farther. To protect the employees and clients of your business, we developed thermocontrol screening stations. It is a quick and safe solution. Thermocontrol measures temperature at a distance of 25 centimeters. The device is autonomous. It does not require an additional employee to conduct temperature measurements or log the results. It can measure and even recognize masked faces. All of the results are logged automatically and stored in the database. You can use the station to ensure your clients and employees access to your building automatically.
John Smith Robot.
The station can issue entrance passes and grant access to the building after it measured the person's temperature. If the visitor's temperature is high, a notification will be sent and a potential carrier of the virus can't access the building. Thermocontrol can send SMS and messenger notifications, as well as notifications over email. Temperature measurement technologies allow businesses to ensure the safety of people and potentially save lives all over the world.
So I'm going to bring in my colleague from the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. Linda and Carolyn, how are you doing today?
We are wonderful. Every time we see our commercial for the Orange Thermocontrol, we get a chill. So we're watching it and cheering our very own product on. So thank you, Anthony. And Colin, how are you, Colin?
Hi.
Welcome to our segment. We missed you.
Thank you. Yeah, we missed you, man. Good to see you, Colin.
Anthony, we want to see you. We were last
week
out in that sunny, beautiful Virgin Islands
at the
weather.
Yeah, at the Fred.
Stop it already.
It was so amazing. When we left, we were really inspired to go get tropical drinks and just to think island thoughts.
Yeah, you know what? I look forward to when you guys visit, all of you. We're gonna have a wonderful time. Yeah. So happy Wednesdays. Happy Wednesday. How's the weather in the DMV area? That's Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And then, of course, Colin, how are things in the United Kingdom? How is the weather there? Let the ladies go first, and then you tell us what's happening on your end. Linda and Carolyn?
Oh, we had the heat on last night, and we woke up this morning to a chill.
Yes.
So all of our bright green leaves are making their turn. We're getting into our autumn colors.
And it's
all right.
Nice, crisp, it feels fresh, and we're ready. We're ready for fall. We're ready.
And Colin, how's the UK doing? How are things across the pond?
Yeah, it's been rainy today. This week's been great. We had a really nice warm pleasure, but today it's turned a bit rainy. We've got a bit of an Atlantic storm coming.
Wow.
So looking out of the window in front of me here, it's a bit grey and dreary, like you'd expect England to be. But so great. Pleasant this week.
Wow. Well, fantastic.
Okay. All right. So, ladies, who do we have today for the guests? What's the subject matter for discussion today?
Well, there's so many interesting things going on. Last week, we had the opportunity to have the amazing Maisha Gadsden on with an organization that she had started. And one thing we know, when there are successful women entrepreneurs doing amazing things, they are normally aligned with other successful women entrepreneurs doing amazing things. So we have Rabia on, and we're going to let her come in, do her whole intro with that beautiful flair she has, and give us some information about who she is. So we're going to be talking about diversity, inclusion, and how that and technology are all fitting in. And Rabia, can you please say your
Hi,
name?
Rabia.
Can you say your name to us in that only the way you can?
My name is Rabia Piacentini.
Right.
Love it.
Love it.
Ooh.
And tell us about yourself. Where are you from? And what on earth you do and what you do for Pearl LTC.
Yeah, so I was born in Santa Barbara, California, but I moved to Mexico when I was very young. I was about 1 or 2, and I lived there until I was about 7. And then we moved to the Caribbean when my father built resorts until I was 18. And then I moved back to the States to come to school. And I started at a young age. Some of my first jobs were working in the resorts and seeing how everything worked, seeing it as a small city, all the different cogs and pieces. And that's really what got me into operations, and seeing how everything can move smoothly or not and not work and create disastrous effects. And seeing how just one small minor change, one piece of technology that's added that can have amazing results. And from there, I got into computer technology. I was at Disney ABC Television Group for a while in Seattle. I got into startups, and it got to this point where I saw there was a incongruity or a disparity between these large corporations and smaller ones, nonprofits that didn't have access to data, didn't have access to technology. And so that's kind of what became the crossroads of where I wanted to be, and saw this huge void in our culture, in our society, where we don't have that access. And so from there, I started in startups in AI, in deep learning or deep machine learning. And from there, I was brought into Pearl as the COO so that I can help with revolutionizing and streamlining what we're doing, especially in the long-term care space. And I'm really excited about that because they're one of the most, or seniors in the United States are one of the most disadvantaged group of people when it comes to being able to access equitable long-term care space and just overall dignity of life after, living and providing for the country. So it's definitely something that I felt a calling for and wanted to be a part of. And so that's what I'm doing currently.
Wow. Quite impressive.
And you're only 25 years old, and you did
No, I wish I was 25. I'm a little bit older than that. I'm currently 30.
Wow. Well, okay, really, 30.
Okay,
That's just a nickel away. So let me just walk back just a little bit. Impressive resume of experience. But you said you lived in the Caribbean for 11 years?
Just about, yeah. The largest portion of my life was in the Caribbean.
Okay, where exactly?
Antigua and Barbuda.
Wow.
Wow.
So now Anthony, she's talking.
So Anthony, you perked up. So you don't really say something during our segment. But that
No. Wait, it's my mom is from Antigua and Barbuda.
Wait, I know several weeks from Antigua. Are you one of the weeks?
Well, that's a tricky question for me, only because on my mother's side, it's the Richards family, and if you know the legendary cricket player Vivian Richards, that's my family. So
I do know Sir Vivian Richards.
Yes, exactly. So I'm sorry, Sir Vivian Richards. Sorry.
You're gonna have a lot of angry people that are gonna be calling your show because you forgot that title.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
Mobility. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, we have a lot of noble people right here in the United States and right here in the DMV, but we're so happy to have you come on and talk with us and kind of continue the conversation that we had last week regarding the work that you all are doing in the senior care space and how the parity or lack thereof in our pandemic economy is affecting our most precious part of our population, that's our seniors. So tell us a little bit more about how, as we move through this process of identifying not only senior care, but senior housing and services, we talk about health disparities and the impact of that health disparity on this population. Can you chat a little bit about that for us today, Rabia?
Absolutely. I'm going to talk a little bit about the long-term care space, but also our society as a whole, healthcare as a whole. It definitely affects those, you know, in the senior space, most especially during COVID, because they're most at risk for what's happening. And unfortunately, a lot of what's happening as far as businesses is there's not enough innovation, there's not enough tools and techniques created to deal with what's happening. And it has definitely exposed these industries that are inflexible. And so by innovating, we're trying to bring and help change that so that we can revolutionize and streamline the way that LTC, long-term health care, or long-term care is seen, and also how it's processed and people go through that process currently.
Let me ask you this. Sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned establishments that are inflexible. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit so that we can be clear?
Absolutely. I mean, currently there's so many businesses going under, and that's, you know, part of what's happening. However, a lot of it is the issue of following, you know, status quo. Opportunities have not dried up in COVID. And I feel that a lot of people are seeing that the glass, or they're so focused on the glass being half full versus looking at the larger picture and seeing that we have a multitude of pitchers to fill our glasses up. And they're so focused on this one glass instead of seeing that with just a minor innovation, we can create the space that we need it to be right now. And a lot of times it's an issue where we're not adapting and adopting. I know we spoke about it last week.
Yes, we did.
You know, it's about being able to, as you put it, being able to tack, being able to look at a different direction and move towards it instead of looking at this wall and saying, this is the only wall I'm ever going to see. And that's the problem, is we're not able to turn around or move our heads and say, okay, the path now has to go around this wall and we can continue. And that's the issue that we're seeing, is this inflexibility of using different technology. And I'm not just saying, a lot of people tend to believe that technology is just computers, and technology is just the study and transformation of techniques and tools that we've created, and they can be any sort of technology. And that's the problem, is that there's this lack of innovation, there's a lack of diversity, there's a lack of cultural insight that is not being brought into a lot of these you know, think tanks. And so people get stuck on the status quo, and the status quo is just not going to get us anywhere.
That's a very, very good point. You know, Carolyn knows that I'm loving this conversation because I sleep, eat, and breathe the concept. And I marvel at the smallest details, but I'm so glad that you define what really innovation, what really technology is. And so it kind of reminds me of how those forward-thinking restaurants, as an example, have allowed themselves to no longer issue out paper or even plastic or the types of menus that would allow for all of us to have to touch. Rather, they have put onto their tables QR code readers that you can then go out, assuming someone at that table has a cell phone with a QR code, a free QR, and go out and get your menu, so that we no longer have a touchless environment. It's those minor changes that enable them to open up, and individuals who are aware of it become very comfortable and come in and say, we think they have been innovative and therefore efficient in how they're going to serve us and protect us from COVID. So I think that what you're saying is we need to start looking at the multitude of opportunities that COVID has in fact created for innovation, efficiency, and for a new order as it relates to diversity.
Absolutely. To that point, absolutely. I believe that we're definitely stuck in this, or I'm not going to say stuck, but there's a quagmire that people tend to get caught up in, and the innovation piece of it is so imperative in transforming where we are. If you're only, you know, looking at the current state, and not thinking about what can be done, it's going to keep us here. And so we not only do we need thinkers and creative types, we also need the doers to do that. And that's what I mean about diversity. It's not just, you know, sexual orientation, race, cultures, etc. It's also people of different work languages, people who are creative, people who are, you know, doers as well. It's not subscribing to these echo chambers that people tend to get stuck in and hearing what they want to hear and having nothing done.
Wow. So you mentioned, and I hate to keep taking you back to the Caribbean, but so with the resorts that your father was building, you said you became very familiar with the processes around those and how they could be improved. So obviously, as Linda mentioned, with restaurants being innovative, just some of the improvements, I'm just thinking back at that time, we did not have COVID, but as you look right now, and you said that opportunities have not dried up, those are absolutely, people are seeing challenges, but you see opportunities. Can you think of one that comes top of mind? An opportunity that should be greater, seized upon in a greater way, in addition to what you've already.
And we forgot to let you know, if we're looking down, we customarily take notes
because every single person we bring on is a subject matter expert on some level, and we write the details so that we can remember them and use them later.
I mean, I'm also taking notes. I'm a note taker as well.
Okay,
so I totally get that. Honestly, there's countless innovations. The way that we have revolutionized travel as well. The way that we, you know, currently with my company, what we're doing so that we can streamline and prevent any sort of blockers for seniors to be able to access long-term care. Digitization is becoming more and more, and when I talk about technology now, I'm talking about computer technology. Digitization is becoming more and more prevalent because these organizations are seeing that, you know, they can no longer work within the realms of what they have been during COVID. They can't be face-to-face necessarily. And so creating a lot of these processes and digitizing them so that people can go through the process online, for example, your QR code at a restaurant. But the same vein, you see the same thing happening with telehealth and attorneys' offices, etc. They're using the same sort of techniques that they have previously, but they've just digitized it. And it is, you know, creating not just more efficient processes. They're finding that they can cut out hours of time that they were spending on admin and calls and other pieces, but now that they can do so with the click of a button and being face-to-face with Zoom, although, you know, Zoom and other organizations are feeling definitely the bandwidth issue, we're definitely, you know, building up to allow for all of us to do that. And I think that you see it everywhere. I mean, honestly, everyday life now has been changed by COVID, and not in a way that necessarily is bad. It's just a new way of living, and I think we're all adapting pretty well to it. And organizations are seeing that as well and starting to use that to their strength.
Love it. It looks like Colin had a question.
Yeah. Colin, did you have a question on our show? We would
or a comment.
No.
No,
you were just so intense.
You have your notes. You're doing well. Well, you know,
I have a question.
Absolutely.
So clearly, when we talk about the advancement of technology and the issue of diversity in technology, now it's interesting we're having this conversation. Why? Because there's the issue of the digital divide across the spectrum. Digital divide is problematic in terms of people of color and in terms of the economic class. Then we're talking about the demographics in terms of age. We're seeing Pearl long-term care services cater to a specific demographic in terms of age. And so there is the learning curve, if you will, in getting those people involved and accepting of technology. And then a third, the issue of the healthcare industry has been one of the last frontiers in integrating technology. It's been a legacy industry for a long time, and they have kind of resisted it. So I believe the pandemic has created this sort of mixed bag of all kinds of challenges when it comes to the people of color, the age group, and obviously industry-wise. How do we tackle this in this very unique environment within the pandemic to understand how technology is really having an impact, and is there parity? Is there equity across the board? Or will there be equity?
To your point, that is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to create that equity. For the longest time, there has been no access to equity, not just to seniors, but to many people in our society and many underserved people. And technology is not the thing that is limiting people. It is people limiting others. Technology is accessible to everyone. It's a matter of taking out those who are gatekeeping it from other people. Technology can be designed in any way we see fit. Essentially, we are the gods of technology, so we can create the world that we want to. And in specific, in the long-term care space, it's about creating the system that is user-friendly enough and intuitive, and it's relatively easy to do. And the thing is, oftentimes that we're seeing is people are discrediting seniors in discredit seniors in the technological space as far as computers, and that's just not the case. I mean, current studies are showing that 57% of seniors over the age of 65 are interested and would look at doing all of their shopping, doing their long-term care searches, etc., online. And I think that too often society as a whole tends to not necessarily make fun of, but there's definitely an underlying theme where they believe that a lot of seniors are just technologically not necessarily savvy, and we're seeing that that's not the case. If you give them the ability to do something, they're going to do it. I know, my grandma actually is a great case in point. She's 98 years old, is on Facebook and talking to me and video chatting on a regular basis.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And you know what's interesting, Rabia? I wonder if the combination of that level of technology, as an example, divorced from the healthcare treatment plans, is really a mistake. That maybe we should incorporate those types of treatments. We should consider those types of treatments, social media networking tools, as part of stimulating the brain, creating motor sensory proficiencies in seniors, creating and expanding social networks that did not exist, much like our young people, where they do not have that sense of isolation and therefore succumb to the things that we know with behavioral health and mental health disorders, because they are feeling that loneliness and isolation that then becomes a chemical imbalance. It seems to me you just hit on a head that we really should be putting a huge stockpile of innovation as it relates to technology and introduction for health treatment purposes.
And that's
Absolutely.
I think that's great. I think just saying it that way. And my father is 84 years old, and he was one
Such
of the
a
last.
nice guy.
I know, he loves Linda. One of the last people that ever wanted to get a cell phone. He didn't see the need for it. There was no need for him to be in contact with anyone once he left his home until he returned. Well, we got him a cell phone about 10 years ago, a flip phone, which he still has that same flip phone. But the point is, initially he was averse to it, like, why do I need this? I don't know how to do this. And now over time, now he is an avid iPad user. He sends emails, he FaceTimes us, he does things interactively with his smart TV. And these are all things, and where he always loves crosswords. Well, there's Scrabble and crossword you can do on your iPad. So for him, we did a disservice in thinking, he doesn't need it, and just kind of, you're right, making fun. There was a stigma about, the old person, help them dial their phone. No, and we can do just a little bit of everything on the phone. So I like that thought process.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes into what I was saying earlier is, we're only limited by the box that we create for ourselves or that we're creating for others. And that's the problem, especially in our long-term care space, is that people are assuming and unknowingly creating the limits and those defining the parameters of what somebody can and can't do. And if you define them for somebody, they're going to think that, for the most part, that is what they can and can't do. And there's only going to be a few select people who are saying, no, this is not right, I can do more. But if you expand those and create it so that, again, creating the technology that we have the power to do and reducing or completely removing those parameters, you'd be surprised at what people are able to accomplish.
Well, that's, oh my goodness, I'm just loving this conversation. Can you share with us a little bit so that for those who were not able to participate or listen in, what Pearl Long-Term Care Solution is endeavoring to do? Is such an important organization and coming forward and online next year. We applaud your efforts and want to make sure that everyone that's listening and seeing actually understands what Pearl Long-Term Care Services.
It's a mouthful. Pearl is looking to revolutionize and streamline long-term care, and creating and removing the gatekeeping aspect of finding long-term care, because that has been the main issue for so many, and especially in a COVID situation, which to the organization's benefit is showing how needed something like this kind of technology, not just for us, but in so many other industries, is being able to give access to those who normally wouldn't have it. And so being able to go onto a platform and search for the residences that a consumer is looking for based on their needs and criteria, and having that done in a much more efficient manner than it currently exists, is going to completely change the game. At least that's what we think it is. And just giving the accessibility aspect to it, especially at this time, is so important to us. Everyone on my team, we've all suffered through either losses or having to find a home for our senior loved ones. And the process is so convoluted and painstaking and takes months and months to do. And there's no reason for that. There's absolutely no reason for that process that we've created. And so we're looking to completely destroy it.
So I think that's wonderful, because I'm definitely one of those individuals. And so my other question would be, not only how can, from a thought leadership perspective, how can we add more into the conversation? The innovation, the services, looking at workforce development, retooling around this type of new innovation, because some would claim, oh, then that takes our jobs away. No, it actually creates a more effective and efficient workforce, we believe.
Absolutely.
So can you share a little bit of how that links up and integrates with one another?
As I said previously, only dead fish follow the flow. And
only dead fish follow
the flow.
That's the first time. I've never heard that one before.
It's a great saying. It's one that I definitely take to heart. No, we continually need to innovate and create new ways of solving these problems. And by solving the problems and creating the efficiencies that we want to see and need to see, it doesn't, it's not saying that the jobs previously were useless or anything to that effect. It's saying that we now have the funds and the necessities to, one, pay for the people that we have in a much better way than they have previously or historically speaking, and also creating the space for new opportunities. Just because we've removed or closed one door, 5 others are opening. So the people who are, the intermediaries that are at the lower levels or the lower rungs of the process, they now can be added to the other processes that this organization, our organization, is going to create. So now they're going to be a much more efficient and needed part of it, versus just being the communication piece at the bottom. And a lot of these pieces for all industries are going to be looking at those and finding ways of how we can better use our workforce and working towards their strengths to help strengthen the society, the industries, et cetera, that we're wanting to see.
Wow, which is so needed in our pandemic economy, that's where we are pushing ourselves into thinking about industries and sectors in this exact way.
Exactly.
That's where the overall innovation, societal innovation, we applaud you.
Absolutely. And
Thank you.
it's hard to believe that 30 minutes went that fast, right? It seems like we don't have enough time for all the delicious guests. So, Rabia, how can people get in touch with you and your organization? Can you, in 30 seconds or so, just tell us how they can access the wonderful things that you've been talking about and even access your bio?
Absolutely. You can find Pearl Long-Term Care Solutions online at pearllongtermcaresolutions.com. You can find me at Rabia Piacentini at LinkedIn, and those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me.
That's fantastic.
Outstanding. We so appreciate what you're doing, and we so appreciate what Pearl is endeavoring. And we know the platform is coming in first quarter sometime 2021.
Very excited.
We'll all be there for the launch.
We're going to be the customers.
You let us know. And Anthony, can we just do kind of a virtual launch in a couple of months?
We can do whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
Love it.
Just be ready when we give you the call back, because listen, Colin, this isn't not going to include the world. So we're just launching here in the US. They're launching, and then I know that the need is global. So I think you're going to, Rabia, can I just give you a quick commercial? You're going out to the world once you finish your US launch, your domestic launch.
We look forward to it. And I think, this doesn't just only affect the United States, it affects everyone. So absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You've been lovely as a guest. Such amazing thinking. I love thought leaders, and I love the way you move. And truthfully, the quote that only dead fish follow the flow, that's going to be something new that we always keep in the forefront of our minds as we try to navigate.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be on your show, and I wish you all the best and stay safe.
All right. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So ladies, thank you so much for that. That was quite edifying for me. It's just a conversation along the issue of how do we address technology. Technology is a challenge across the board. Technology is a problem every day of the week, and so dealing with it from a long-term care healthcare perspective is just another hurdle that we have to overcome. But I wanna find out though. Having you guys on the line, Colin, on this side of the pond, that's an issue we have. Not knowing anything about the United Kingdom, are you confronted with the same challenges? Do you have the same issues that we're discussing today on the program with our colleagues here with Linda and Carolyn and on our previous guests here?
Well, yeah, I made a note while Robbie was talking about the digital divide, because in this country, we're going through a second peak of coronavirus, and the second peak has turned out to be bigger than the first one was in terms of infection rates.
Wow.
So whether or not that's a feature of more testing, nobody really knows, but there is definitely a second peak, bigger than the first. One of the things the government has done in the UK to try and cope with that is to launch a new track and trace app, and I downloaded it the other day. It's quite complicated. Now the problem is that if you think of the digital divide, one of the groups of people that's most vulnerable are elderly people and older people that are affected by the digital divide, and they're the ones that most need the technology that's been put in place to help them. So there's a real dichotomy there, that the people that most need it are the ones that are having the most trouble accessing it.
Wow.
I think that's you made. That's a big issue. I think it's a global thing. I don't know how you get around it. The only thing I can think of from a technology point of view, speaking as a technologist, is that you need to make sure you replicate the digital solutions that you're providing for people, replicate them in some kind of environment that's accessible to the people who need them most. So people that aren't in the digital sphere, they may not have a good internet connection. They may not be on the internet at all. I know elderly people that aren't on the internet at all may not have a smartphone. So those people need access to those services, but they need access to some kind of intermediary layer. So almost like a cyber cafe kind of deal, where those people have somewhere they can go to. And they're being missed out at the moment. It's a real issue because they are the ones who are suffering the most. It's not people like me, I'm okay. It's people like them.
Wow.
So
because our chain of efficacy, obviously, in terms of Linda Carolyn's company and the Orange Thermal Control AI device for temperature monitoring, this is a global technology. It's not just limited to the Americas. It's throughout the world, and so it's when we look at developing the market in the United Kingdom and Europe with our colleagues, I'm just curious to know whether or not if the challenges are the same here in the islands. We try to from a bandwidth point of view, we try to get comparable internet speed and bandwidth, but sometimes it's a challenge, and so we just can't take for granted that you have equality across the board when technology is supposed to be the equalizer for access to technology and the leverage of technology. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you. And the fact is, we just crossed the threshold of globally over 1 million people have died.
Yes.
Over 1 million people have died from COVID-19 coronavirus, and over, I think last night the number was 207,000 Americans have died from COVID-19. That is astonishing. It's absolutely
and literally just 6 months, we have lost that many individuals around the world. And the innovation that we know that is out there, the technologies, which is not always telecommunication, as Robbie has said, the technologies to find a solution are there. So we hope that through this global pandemic and the impact of our global economy, that international trades, all kind of things occur, that in fact we will be looking for that global solution as well. So that's a very, very dire situation.
And we have to gear up. We have to obviously. I say all the time, we don't know what we're in for with the combined. It's called the perfect storm. The second wave of the COVID-19, we see the spiking of states and other countries. Our numbers are like going in and out, they're spiking. And so when the influenza season starts, it's going to create such a complication for the front line, for the medical community to try to manage that because influenza by itself is a monster. It hospitalizes a lot of people, it kills a lot of people. And now you're going to have to now try to mitigate and manage and differentiate what is COVID, what is influenza, how do you avoid the two kind of colliding and create more complexity in this process?
That's a really good point, because COVID-19 sort of reached its peak in the US. It really surged about April, when we were all starting to hit our warmest weather and getting out of flu season. And it's only been horrible since then, with 207,000 Americans dead. Just now, imagine as we go back into that, and catching the flu can predispose you to then becoming even more susceptible to COVID, without talking about your other comorbidities. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting.
And that is because as we learned with one of our guests, it's a very opportunistic virus, and the infection really looks for the weakest link inside your bodies and creates havoc. And so we need to innovate around our own thought processes as personal health and how to access personal health. My concern is for individuals who may not even get their flu shot, because we now have such a global mistrust of the regulatory and the authorities, none of whom we will name around the globe or locally or nationally, but there's such a distrust. Colin, are you finding that same concept?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely the same thing here. There's basically people just do not believe anything the politicians are saying. It doesn't matter which political side of the spectrum you're on. People just do not believe what people are saying. And there's a terrible cynicism about it all. People are very cynical. It's like, oh, they would say that, wouldn't they? I subscribe to that myself a bit. I don't tend to take a lot of notice what people say. There's lots to talk at the moment about COVID vaccine. People say, no, it's all going to be okay when we get a vaccine, we'll all be vaccinated against this. But on the counter to that, people say, it normally takes about 8 years to develop and test a new vaccine, like the flu vaccine or something.
8 years?
In 6 months. Yeah, it's about 8 years normally.
And that's what we've heard. numbers like that.
clinical trials and things like that on a vaccine. People saying this one's being rushed out in a few months, maybe 12 months. So what side effects could that vaccine have?
Yeah.
What counter reactions will it have with other things? It could cause more trouble than it's worth. So as a lot of people say, I'm not taking a vaccine, not until it's been well tested. They're saying, and then people say, well, let the politicians take the vaccine first.
Right.
Yes.
Give them 6 months and then we'll see whether.
And we'll see how they do.
Yeah, that might work out just
That's right.
just
But
But
there is a
is
great
it-
cynicism. Something happened this week.
Is it me, guys? Aren't you guys a little bit? I think it's a little bit disheartening to see the conflict or the disconnect, the confusion between the federal agencies that are responsible for this, helping to lead the process as scientists, and the politician are literally contradicting each other. Isn't that?
Yeah.
How do you expect the public to have any confidence, any trust in the process when you have the policymakers, the administration, that are in just butt heads with the scientists? How do you fix a problem when you don't see the solidarity, the unification of how do we as a country tackle this issue?
Oh, I think on one level, it's called wait until we all get to November 3rd and we cast our ballots and vote. Beyond that, and voting up and down, regardless of what party, regardless of what issues move you, that we have to shake up the apple cart, because the reality is that in the United States, we all are very clear, even the novelists or even the layperson, we shouldn't be we shouldn't be a part of the top 3, or even have we reached the top 1. We shouldn't be here in a society as advanced as the United States of America, with a global healthcare system that rivals any, having the level of deaths and cases. So let's not forget that the cases means that you have recovered from the COVID infection, but the impact and the potential complications we don't know are lifelong.
Yeah.
So it's very dire. But we
Yeah.
believe that everyone teaches one, reaches one, and supports one by using the tools and the things that we have learned, and keeping ourselves as healthy as possible, and maintaining a positive focus on future forward. As Rabia gave us great instruction, look at the glass half full and innovate and be creative.
What I do know, Linda and Carolyn and Colin, is that we came together as a unit to bring leadership and clarity to this process in the creation of JumpStart economy and reopening and our chain of efficacy. So I am hoping between now and when the combined COVID and influenza comes around, that we are one cohesive group and providing a real collaborative solution of being able to say to the public sector, to the government, and say to the private sector, we want to partner with you because we believe that we bring together a unique set of collaborative solutions to help deal with this issue. And so I'm really excited about that, of my colleagues.
Well, thank you, Anthony, for giving us this platform to just help educate and inform, rather, about the wonderful persons that we have that deal in healthcare, in the healthcare space, as well as business. And we have appreciated being on your show again today. And Colin, we are always so happy whenever we see you. So yes, we agree with you, Anthony, and we look forward to next week.
And we have a great guest next week.
I'm excited, looking forward to that. I see Terry is signing on. She's getting ready. She's in queue. She looks like she's mobile. She's mobile today. She's mobile. And
I love it.
So, ladies, you can say hi to Terry before you guys go. We have.
Hi. You look lovely. That's it. You're a woman on the move. You got to miss
right. That's
You were
right.
a woman on the
We
go.
have a special guest. Terry has lined up one of New York's senators, state senators, in Senator Parker, and looking forward to that. So hopefully I can behave myself, ladies, and represent you guys well in your absence. I'm going to miss you guys, but I think we're going to be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, do your
So,
thing.
Go forward. We trust you.
And we'll be
All
listening.
all right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right.
All
So, Terry, so how are you?
I'm super excited. I'm pretty good. I am the woman on the move today. I'm in the city for the first time since about March. So it's different. I see a lot of businesses that are closed down. I see, a lot of for lease signs on the different doors as I'm walking up and down the blocks. I'm really surprised. Some furniture stores have closed. Some boutiques have closed. It's one thing for us to look at the numbers and discuss on Jumpstart what's going on in our economy as it relates to our small businesses, and it's another whole thing to walk up and down the street and actually physically see it. And so, just looking for some more opportunities to offer technical support to individuals and businesses that are struggling but can absolutely rebound from this. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. We're going to start talking more door to door to small businesses, talking to some of the chambers. I had the pleasure of being on this morning with the first Global Black Women Chamber, Ambassador Suje, Anthony started. I was on her show at 12 noon, and we were talking about some of the opportunities that they have lined up by being in a place like the chamber. And so I'm encouraging our listeners that are struggling. You may need a line of credit. May need some technical support. You may need just some hand holding with looking at your financial picture. So those are the things that we're going to be, that on this show, I'll be bringing those opportunities, Anthony, to small businesses so that they can get back in the game, so to speak. Yeah.
Yet, next week, I'm really excited because Sure Up finally released the official press release of their partnership with us. And so what we're going to do next week, we're going to use that hour to really do a complete overview of all of our solutions. Okay.
Nice.
To kind of do a granular, review of it. And so people can know what we're doing as a cohesive group, and what Jumpstart is, and what the chain of efficacy is on this program, the Marketplace Reset. And we have some really innovative and really effective way of addressing how businesses are going to be able to business is going to be able to open up safely and responsibly, to be able to get the employees back to work, and to stay connected to their customers. Because if we've learned nothing, if we've gotten no takeaway from this process, I think we're in trouble. And I think because we have literally, I want to say that the first wave, you guys may not agree with me, and only it may sound strange because of so many people have died, but I think that if we didn't learn anything from the first wave going into the second wave, the first wave should be the dress rehearsal. I hate describing it that way, but it's literally, it has given us an opportunity to get our act together, because going into the second, I think we're entering into uncharted territory, and we better be ready for this and do some takeaway from the first wave.
Right. I think you're absolutely correct in your assessment of what's to come and what is past. We are ready now. I think that, like you said, and I love Shore Up, I think that we're shoring up the economy so that our businesses can thrive and grow. And right now we're talking about the reset, right? So I think what's going to really change the game, Anthony and Colin, is the resources that we offer on this Jumpstart Reset show. And I think that next week's opportunity, whoever is listening, please, I ask you to jump on next week, because you will really see a robust list of tools and tips and strategies to help you jumpstart, to help you reset. And so I'm looking forward to that show next week. And then this week also, just want to remind you, if you're in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, the Small Business Administration has tools and tips online. There's webinars now that are taking place. There's so many more webinars, Zoom calls, opportunities for you to be a part and ask questions. If you need a line of credit, there are the CDFIs that are offering, lines of credit that wouldn't traditionally offer at such lower amounts. So I'm asking you to take advantage of all of those things, because that's what's going to reset this economy. And so I'm encouraging you to take advantage of all of those things available to small business development centers, the services in the city and the state, as well as other things that are available. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Colin. Hi, Colin.
Small businesses, and Colin, I'd like to obviously on the second show we're gonna have from 2 to 2:30. We're gonna do a focus on the UK and really get a report from you as to what's happening in the UK. Obviously, because it mirrors what's happening here in the country, but clearly, we want to get to a place, at a point, where when we talk about being able to enable small business to not only survive, to succeed, but become more resilient in this environment. Next week's show is going to be dedicated to you, the mom and pop, Main Street, local business, small businesses, disadvantaged business, women businesses, minority businesses. These are the businesses that are responsible, according to the economic data, are responsible for the majority of the jobs created in this country. The small businesses are the economic engine of this country.
That's right.
And we can't say that. We can't say that and not really give them the tools and the resources they need to survive and to prosper. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to next week's show, where we're able to now lay out what all of the solutions we have to offer that is designed specifically to finally help small businesses, mom and pop businesses, local businesses, Main Street businesses, okay? People of color, women businesses, disadvantaged business, veteran businesses. We're talking about all the businesses. And so we're going to do our part. We have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of collective experience. And I think that we're going to bring everything to bear in order to be able to address that. Colin, be just as a sort of a preview of what's coming up on the second segment of the show, where we'll have a conversation about the UK. It is the issue of what's the role of small business in the UK. We know in America, as a capitalist society, we say that small business is vital to the economic engine of the country. Is that the case in the United Kingdom?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Far more people work in small businesses in the UK than work in big businesses. I forget the numbers, but it's like somewhere between 60 and 80% of the people in the UK work in small businesses. By small businesses, I mean businesses of less than 10 people. So the small business sector is absolutely paramount to the economy. And what's tending to happen is that there are lots and lots of, or recently until COVID, lots and lots of new startups for small businesses as well. And the motto is every big business started off as a small business. Nobody ever became General Motors overnight. They started as a small business. So that's what people look to do. My business is a small business. There are various trade bodies that are around to support small businesses. So you get local chambers of commerce, are very, very influential. There's a thing called the Federation of Small Businesses. My business is a member of the Federation of Small Businesses. And they offer lots and lots of practical day-to-day help to do all the kinds of things that basically get in your way if you're a small business user, a small business owner. All the bureaucracy, all the taxation advice, all the insurance stuff, all the banking advice, all the things that stop you doing whatever your business is because you're an administrator. I spend a fantastic amount of my time just chasing administration. So the Federation of Small Businesses are very, very good at supporting you and advising you and providing services to help you out on that. Now, going back to JumpStart, where this is important is that what I want to do in the UK is engage local chambers of commerce and engage the Federation of Small Businesses in the JumpStart program, because I know those people are going to be struggling to get their businesses up and running again when they come back after COVID, because they're going to have a lot of other crap to go up with. So one of the things we're hoping is to deliver the JumpStart suite of solutions through those channels, because I think that's the easiest way to very quickly get into contact with these thousands and thousands of small businesses that there are. So yeah, it's very, very important. It's a very key part of the economy, and it's very fundamental to making the economy work. One of the big sectors in small businesses is hospitality, small cafes, restaurants, coffee shops, franchised fast food outlets like all the McDonald's and all the Pizza Huts are all franchised. So those are all small businesses, and those are ones that have really been particularly hit because of lockdown conditions. They haven't been allowed to do business, and people forget.
Colin,
Yeah.
Do me a favor. We have to close out the first segment. Let me end the first segment and then dial back in for the second segment. You have that link,
okay.
All right, and so we'll take it from there. Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, later. Bye.